And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Texas.
John, the latest Los Angeles politician to be running away from the press is LA City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson. Listen to what happened to a KTLA reporter with a microphone in the halls of LA City Hall today.
Sir, Council President, I'm so sorry. Can you please, is there any chance I can have a quick, sir, just one question. Excuse me. Okay. All right, Frank and Jessica, you can see it's a very fluid situation. I tried my hardest in order to get the council president. You can see he was very much not interested in speaking with media there. Slammed the door a little bit in our face. Sir.
Okay, I can commiserate with him for a moment because that's exactly what I do anytime someone from the HOA wants to talk to me. I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry. I have to get inside very quickly. I don't have time to talk to you. Yada, yada, yada. Slam.
But, John, your bushes are 1 inch too tall.
My only regret when I avoid their questions and run into the house and slam the door is that their hand isn't in the jam. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, as we mentioned before, local politicians are starting to create separation between their office and the office of the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. Why is that? Well, it's because Karen Bass is becoming politically toxic. She's losing members of the Los Angeles City Council. She's fighting with members of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, and the governor, well, he doesn't even want to be seen in public with her. The latest council member to go on the record expressing their frustration with the mayor was Venice Councilwoman Traci Park.
This is what she told KTLA yesterday afternoon.
Former LA City Fire Chief Kristen Crowley releasing a statement over the weekend after she was demoted by Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. Mayor criticized Crowley's response to the Palisades fire. However, many people feel Mayor Bass should not have fired Crowley. KTLA's Annie Rose Ramos live now in Venice with more reaction. Annie Rose, good morning.
Hi, Jess. Good morning to you. Mayor Karen Bass saying she is acting in the best interests of LA's public safety by removing former fire chief Kristen Crowley from her role, replacing her with an interim fire chief who has over 40 years experience on the job. But this morning,
and also not firing her because she has civil service protections, but demoting her.
I've said it before. Can you imagine what that Christmas party is going to be like this year?
The fire union fighting back, saying Crowley was terminated for telling the truth.
Let me just be clear about the budget. The fire department was not cut. I have done 2 budgets.
She's banging that podium again.
And by the way, yes, their budget was cut. It was cut by $17 million. The mayor doesn't regard that as a cut because they spent the money on certain things. Well, of course you're going to spend the money on certain things. That's what you do with money that's put in your budget.
The fire department was not cut. I have done 2 budgets in my time here. In both budgets, the budget was increased, and I will anticipate that it will be increased this time as well.
All right, we're standing here. Councilwoman Traci Park, thank you for joining us. What is your initial reaction to the mayor's move of removing a former fire chief, Kristen Crowley?
Well, I am disappointed and surprised by this decision. And I want to be very clear, I was not consulted about this or given the courtesy of a heads up about it, even though...
Boy, the communication in that mayor's office is just incredible.
No, her departments don't talk to one another. She doesn't talk to the county. She doesn't talk to the city council. Everything's just one great big surprise on X.
Given the courtesy of a heads up about it, even though others apparently were...
Yeah, Traci Park, again, her district is the Palisades, so she's been on this from day one. She was not invited to the press conference, was not told that this was happening. It happened during a city council committee hearing, and Karen Bass, when she did fire the chief, was joined at a press conference by Marquise, Adrian Nazarian, and Hugo freaking Soto Martinez.
She's doing this because she regards it as being a political problem and not a failure of leadership.
And as the council member for the district where this devastating tragedy occurred, as the person who has been on the ground every day and will be for years to come, dealing with the fallout of this and traumatized, displaced residents, it's concerning and disappointing.
You know, that's a really good point. We're going to actually put up a screen of all the council members who voiced their support of the mayor's move after.
What did they get out of it?
Oh, I'm sure they're getting something. But guess what? If you go down on a sinking ship, you're still going down.
After she removed Kristen Crowley from this role, she held a press conference on Friday. You're saying that as the council member, the councilwoman who represents, you know, the impacted area for the Palisades fire, you were never told about this.
No, I was not consulted or given any information about this at all.
To quote Lindsay Horvath, doesn't sound like locking arms to me.
No, and it's unbelievably disrespectful for a mayor who's supposed to have great political abilities at creating relationships and bringing people together and making coalitions. Boy, is she awful at the retail politics.
Just because somebody was in Congress for a long time in a safe district doesn't mean they have the ability to do anything, as we have been proven by the last 2.5 years of Karen Bass.
No.
Barbara Lee, you'll be the exact same thing, if not worse, to Oakland. Oaklanders don't do it.
No, I was not consulted or given any information about this at all. I learned about this when I was bombarded by media requests in the middle of a city council meeting.
That is no way to run a city.
You know, the irony is that we're hearing a lot about communications. The mayor herself talking about communications when it came to the moments after the fire started in Pacific Palisades, saying she didn't hear from Kristen Crowley for a while. Now, you're involved in, as city leadership. What can you take us through the communications for those days? Were you aware of the wind?
The communication.
I love that that's a question that has to be asked now.
Were
Did
you
know it was
aware
gonna
of
be windy?
the wind? Yeah, I looked
Aware
out my
of the
window.
Days, were you aware of the wind?
The communications about the very dangerous weather was ubiquitous. It was on every news channel. It was on every radio channel. It was everywhere in social media. The fire department was blaring out that this was a dangerous circumstance. The mayor's own communication said that she was urgently deploying city departments. So I don't know what to make of that.
Well, here's what you can make of it. The mayor lied repeatedly.
Just like she did to Steve Sobroff.
City departments. So I don't know what to make of that, frankly.
Oh, we got so close, Tracy.
Halfway there.
You know, to your point, exactly right. The mayor's own Instagram page had that, as well as National Weather Service using very strong language, life-threatening wind event.
This defense of I didn't know about the wind is not going over well to anybody.
No, and she's just sticking with it, which is even more pathetic.
So, you know, you heard those words from the mayor herself on Friday. Do you feel like she's misinformed, or what do you think about this?
I don't know. I can't speak to what she knew or what her team advised her of. I don't have any insight to that. What I can say is that basically everybody in the city of Los Angeles knew that we were headed into very, very dangerous circumstances.
Karen Bass is going to be real mad when she sees clips of this interview.
Oh, she's going to be with Pamela Price hosting a podcast because she has some getting even to do.
So we have a lot of questions about what occurred in the lead up to the fire and the aftermath of the fire and the difficulty with communications in those contexts. But what her communications were with the chief, I can't speak to that.
As a leader, as a representative of the impacted area of the Palisades fire, what is your biggest concern moving forward?
Well, my biggest concern about this moving forward is that we continue to keep our focus on righting the ship with infrastructure and public safety here in Los Angeles.
That's going to be difficult when the captain has no idea what she's doing.
Well, if you are with one of these public safety organizations like police or fire, and the mayor tells a lie, you're expected to go along with the lie. Otherwise, you lose your job. That's what we've learned.
You know, Chief Crowley has been very clear and consistent in her message from day one that our fire department does not have the staffing and resources that it needs to keep Los Angeles safe on an average day. She warned the mayor and the fire chief in early December that she did not have what she needed to prepare for or respond to a major emergency like a wildfire. And that is why I and members of the union went to Fire Commission on December 17th to stand in solidarity with the chief, united in our focus on righting the ship on these issues. So what happened in the Palisades doesn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah, but Karen Bass was packing for a trip to Ghana then.
You notice, by the way, that when Karen Bass talks about this, she goes on forever. It's bureaucratese. You don't understand what she's saying. It's so complicated. And when you listen to Traci Park speak, again, the councilwoman representing the impacted area, she's very clear. She's very concise. She doesn't need a lot of words to communicate the message. And you walk away knowing exactly what she meant.
The mayor saying that budget, there were no cuts to the budget, true or false?
There were operational impacts.
There is this part. They're going to try to hold her down to this.
Because of the eliminated civilian positions. And I went to bat.
One question, true or false?
The amount of money in the initial tranche allocated to the fire department, which included elimination of civilian.
If she says right now false, then Karen Bass is cooked, and she does not want that on her hands because she wants to run for re-election.
Yes, and the mayor will actively campaign against her.
The amount of...
They'll call for Mike Bonner to come back.
The amount of money in the initial tranche allocated to the fire department, which included elimination of civilian positions and overtime hours, absolutely impacted the chief's ability to do what she needed to do, which is...
Yes, the budget was cut. And by the way, those civilian positions included mechanics that were supposed to be fixing the derelict fire vehicles that could not be deployed because they were in a maintenance bay.
And the official position of the mayor was she fired the fire chief because she didn't deploy those trucks where the mayor thought they should have been. Well, if the trucks weren't operational because you cut the budget and there were no mechanics to fix the broken trucks, how was she supposed to deploy them?
Which is in the initial tranche that they were provided, it wasn't enough, which is part of why we went to Fire Commission on December 17th and said, this urgently needs to be fixed now.
KTLA is not going to let this one go.
Traci Park, thank you so much. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Annie Rose, I just want to ask the council member why it's so difficult to answer that question.
Yeah.
Was the budget cut or not? Or is it just an accounting issue?
Was the budget cut or not? Is it true or false? Is it a yes or no? Is it accounting? Because it seems like I know it's a complicated.
It is complicated, and it's not a yes or no question.
But the mayor saying no. The mayor answering it very clearly, no, it wasn't cut.
The budget was done in two parts. The first part was not enough to give the department what they needed under the circumstances, which is why we went to Fire Commission in December and said we have got to make this right now.
So there was a cut for that first tranche.
The first tranche was...
This is such nuttiness.
I feel for Traci Park because she doesn't want to straight up call the mayor a liar, which is what you have to do if you're telling the truth. So she's conveying accurate information without completely throwing the mayor under the bus. But Traci, councilwoman, the woman is a pathological liar. At some point, you're going to get there. It might as well be today.
The first tranche was not, if you look at the first tranche of the budget and you compare it to the entirety of last year, yes, It's less.
It's less money.
It's less.
So
But there
That is a way of saying, yes, the budget was cut, and Karen Bass is a liar without having to say it.
There we go.
But there was another tranche on the way. But unfortunately, there was a gap that led to operational impacts. That means there weren't enough bodies or resources to do what needed to be done. But we had that knowledge back in December, and Chief Crowley has been very consistent in her message about that from day one, and nothing that she has said since January 7th has changed.
And that's why Kristen Crowley got fired.
She's being punished for telling the truth. And whenever Karen Bass hires a new fire chief, that fire chief will understand that if they want to keep their job, if the mayor lies, you have to go along with it.
Now, John, there is a question of Chief Crowley's options here, because, again, she wasn't completely fired, because you know there'd be a lawsuit for that. She was demoted, but if she wanted to, if she has enough support from the city council, and she has two very outspoken members in Traci Park and Monica Rodriguez, she could appeal that firing to the city council, which would be the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to Karen Bass since her guns got stolen. Let's hear the possibility of that with NBC4.
On this Monday, we are following up on Mayor Karen Bass's abrupt removal of Kristen Crowley.
Did Karen Bass think by firing the fire chief this story would go away?
Well, and I've read reports that say that the fire chief takes great notes and keeps records of all correspondence regarding the budget with the mayor. So she's got the receipts.
As the Los Angeles fire chief in the wake of those wildfires. And now there's a divide over whether the mayor should have done it and whether that decision is now final. NBC4's Alex Rozier spoke with several city leaders today and joins us live now with reaction. Alex.
Hey, Robert, there's certainly a division at L.A. City Hall after Mayor Karen Bass fired Kristen Crowley. Now, Crowley must decide if she's going to appeal to the city council to try to get her job back.
I would love to see her at public comment with the guy that sings Chinese karaoke.
That would be quite a transition.
As Kristen Crowley decides if she will appeal her firing as L.A.'s fire.
Maybe she could talk about the girls on Figueroa.
Well, everyone else does.
As Kristen Crowley decides if she will appeal her firing as L.A.'s fire chief, City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson showed his support for the mayor's decision.
The people of Los Angeles elected the mayor to make these calls, and I'm going to support her.
You mean the same mayor that abandoned the city and put you in charge with one of the worst wind events that this city's ever seen?
Now, here is an interesting wrinkle to all of this. As city council president, if he's going to get behind the mayor 100%, he's going to lose the support of some of his colleagues over that, because the criticism of Bass is coming from members of the LA City Council. He has to have 8 votes to keep that job. If he doesn't have 8 votes, someone else will replace him as council president.
Not only does he support the firing, Harris Dawson said he suggested it after Crowley spoke to news outlets about LA.
Wait. Now we're talking about falling on his sword. I told Karen Bass to fire her.
Boy, he is really 110% behind the mayor.
After Crowley spoke to news outlets about LA.
What did she promise, Marquise? What did she promise Hugo?
Had to be something big.
After Crowley spoke to news outlets about LAFD's budget cuts while the Palisades fire was still burning.
Wait a second. So Marquise is saying, I told Karen Bass you have to fire the fire chief because she admitted to Fox 11's Gigi Graciette that the budget was cut.
If he ends up sitting in the front row at the Olympics for the women's gymnastics, you know what the payoff was.
I mean, we're just straight up admitting retaliation now.
Why not? In a one-party city, in a one-party state, you make the rules, so have fun.
For me, that was like if I'm in surgery and my surgeon decides to stop while my body's still open and complain about the HMO. It doesn't matter whether I agree with them or not. It's incredibly bad timing and bad judgment.
If you want to use that analogy, you're in surgery, but the surgeon went to freaking Ghana.
So now the nurse is cutting you open.
Mayor Bass
the nurse
cited
is
two
you.
main. Mayor Bass cited two main reasons for the chief's removal. She said Crowley refused to participate in a report after the Palisades fire.
The falling on your sword report.
Yes. She wanted the fire chief to write a report saying that it was all the fire chief's fault and not the mayor's.
And she didn't approve of a decision Crowley made the day the fire started.
1,000 firefighters that could have been on duty on the morning the fires broke were instead sent home on Chief Crowley's watch.
And also on Mayor Bass's watch, who wasn't in town.
And what trucks were they supposed to use to fight the fires? Because you cut the budget, so the trucks couldn't be fixed.
But Freddie Escobar, the president of LA's fire union, said even if Crowley kept them on duty, they wouldn't have anywhere to put them.
During budget cuts, our civilian mechanics were removed from the budget. We have over 100 apparatuses that need repair, but we don't have mechanics to fix them.
And good on the fire union for standing up to the mayor on this, because we've seen how sometimes the public employee unions will not support their people, will not support their workers, and will go after what management's doing to them. And this is the right move for Freddie Escobar and the LAFD union.
I bet you they all got behind Rick Caruso last time, the public safety unions, and I bet they expect to get behind him again.
In a statement over the weekend, Crowley said in part, quote, "As the fire chief, I based my actions and decisions on taking care of our firefighters so that they could take care of our communities." Escobar said he thinks Crowley was really fired for those news interviews in early January about LAFD's budget cuts.
She's being removed for telling the truth. Historically, the unions do not have a very good relationship with management. In this case, it's the opposite. The men and women of the LAFD that are represented by United Firefighters of Los Angeles City support Chief Crowley.
But Bass has her support, too, including Council President Marquise Harris Dawson.
That doesn't mean anything.
No, he wants those tickets to the girls' gymnastics, trust me.
Who said now is the time to rally around interim chief Ronnie Villanueva.
Los Angeles has one fire department. It's led by Ronnie Villanueva. We need to all get behind him. We have one mayor, we have one council. And so these are the folks that are going to take us through this help.
It doesn't matter if she's terrible at her job. She's our boss.
That's right. Let's everyone get behind the mayor and validate her lies.
We have one mayor, we have one council. And so these are the folks that are going to take.
Boy, a way to show that you're an independent body in the city.
He's acting like he works for her.
We have one mayor.
He did. He worked at Community Coalition before he ran for city council.
Well, there you go.
We have one mayor, we have one council. And so these are the folks that are going to take us through this hellacious time and bring us to the brighter day that we deserve.
Unless we get rid of them next year.
Which is a strong possibility.
So moving forward under civil service rules, Kristen Crowley has opted to stay with the department at a lower rank. She has up to 10 days to appeal her firing. A few folks here at City Hall today tell me that she has not made up her mind just yet. But if she does appeal, she'll go to the city council and she'll need 10 council members to support her to reinstate her as chief. Reporting live, I'm Alex Rozier, NBC4 News.
Well, she's not going to get to 10 votes because the mayor has Marquise, Harris Dawson, and I'm sure a block of his allies behind her. And if you have that, it's real hard to get to 10.
That's the latest on the firing of Chief Crowley. Karen Bass, this story ain't going anywhere.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, with the end of the show quickly approaching, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is go to KABC.com, click on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube or get that handy-dandy KABC app. Search KABC AM in the Apple App Store or the Android Store. It's the easiest way to listen live to this radio station and download all the podcasts. Go back to a couple of weeks ago with that crazy guy screaming on the flight.
And oddly, that wasn't on Spirit Airlines. It was Alaska. And right now it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, this edition involves a case of self-defense.
A homeowner shot at a burglar, which Rick Chavez-Zabur wants to make illegal.
Yeah, what's his deal? He's a guy who, generally speaking, likes to consider himself as a moderate Democrat on criminal justice issues. And I know that he wants to run for attorney general at some point in the future. But you can't regard yourself as a moderate Democrat on criminal justice issues if you do not believe people have a right to defend themselves and their property.
That story is blowing up on the internet right now. And now Rick Chavez-Zabur is trying to walk back AB 1333, which would have made it so you cannot use lethal force to defend your property. AB 1333 was, I'm not doing the voice, and neither are you, because I don't want you to hurt yourself. AB 1333 was never intended to limit a crime victim's right to defend yourself, family, or home. The goal was to prevent wannabe vigilantes like Kyle Rittenhouse from provoking violence or claiming self-defense after the fact. We will amend the bill to make this crystal clear. That was the whole point of the bill.
Yeah, the whole point of the bill was you want criminals to have free reign over other people's stuff, and you want to take away the homeowner's right to defend their property.
Let's hear what happened in Sacramento. Here's CBS Sac.
A suspected burglar picks the wrong house to break into as a Sacramento homeowner fires his gun.
Now, the chaos unfolding Friday on 50th Avenue near Sacramento Executive Airport. But was the homeowner justified in this shooting?
Your reporter covering Sacramento County, Tori Abadat.
Well, someone broke into his house.
Yeah. If there's a burglar in someone's house and a gun goes off because the guy wants to defend himself and his property, he's justified. I don't need to hear anything else.
Was the homeowner justified in this shooting?
Your reporter covering Sacramento County, Tori Abadat, is live from the Sacramento Police Department getting answers on this. Hi, Tori.
Hey there, Marley and Tony. Right now, only the burglary suspect that the homeowner believes is a homeless person is in custody. The question is, could the homeowner...
Why?
This story just tells you everything that's wrong with the state all at once. Well, was the homeowner justified in shooting a burglar after they broke into his home? And they're homeless.
Be facing any types of charges for firing that gun.
Point the gun at him, and he come out and I shoot in the air.
Scaring away the...
He didn't even shoot at him. He shot the gun in the air.
And they are thinking about charging this guy with something?
Scaring away the man who broke into his home and stole his car's key fob.
I'm disabled, so you don't scare,
It's what Chu says he had to do to defend himself.
Unlock the door right here.
He says the suspect snuck into the home on 50th Avenue through the back door while he was exercising in the backyard Friday afternoon.
He opened the door and ransacked. Check it out, the value stuff,
The two came face to face inside, but then Chu says the burglary suspect bolted for the driveway.
He sit inside.
Trying to get it to start.
Yeah.
And while Chu says...
So he stole the key fob, and now he's trying to go steal the car.
And he trashed his home.
And while Chu says the suspect was trying to start his car, Chu grabbed his gun.
I think he come to me, so I shot in there to make a warning,
Police say that burglary suspect ran away from the home and they caught him about half a block away in this park.
Again, not city of Los Angeles.
An arrest was made.
If it's LA or Oakland, an arrest is never made.
They tell you to fill out a form online.
But were the shots the homeowner fired justified?
Of course they were justified.
I can't believe they're even asking that question.
You're not allowed to use deadly force to recover property.
Local attorney Justin Ward says California law allows you to fire a gun for self-defense if the burglar is inside your home. But
if they're on the front lawn, they could do whatever they want. They could steal your car.
So after they go inside your home, they trash your home while you're there and you're disabled. They steal your keys, and then they try to steal your car. At that point, you just have to let them?
but you have to feel threatened by the suspect in order to shoot once they're outside.
You don't know what this guy's going to do. What if he stole the car and then ran him down with it?
This story is so stupid on so many different levels. The fact that it's not just regarded as common sense that this guy acted appropriately is beyond my ability to comprehend.
You have reasonable fear that they're going to steal your car, but not that they're going to physically harm you or somebody that lives in your home.
Last time I checked, a car is a deadly weapon.
I'll tell you, in this state, down is up is down, left is right, right is left. They treat the victim like they're the criminal, and they treat the criminal like they're the victim.
But Chu, the disabled elderly homeowner.
Yes, this guy's the villain of the story. The disabled veteran.
Check your privilege, Chu.
I try come here, maybe he come out and attack me,
Says that's why he pulled the trigger, in hopes the burglar never tries to come back.
Oh, he's scary.
So the Sacramento Police Department here is still investigating all of this, but that local attorney you heard from says that the district attorney could charge that homeowner with negligent discharge of a firearm. Of course, though, right now, only that burglary suspect is in custody.
I don't see the Sacramento DA Tin Ho doing that, but if that happened, that would be complete insanity.
If they do that, this will become a national case, and that district attorney or anyone involved in that prosecution will become a national villain, and they deserve to become one. That man did nothing wrong.
And let's not forget, Rick Chavez Burr of the Assembly, he introduced legislation this week that would make it so it is illegal to defend your property in your home with a firearm.
And then he got all huffy about people criticizing the bill.
Ashley Zavala retweeted that, which tells me that she's working on a story for it, which means we're going to have some good sound tomorrow.
Can't wait for that. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
A lot of people reacting to the firing of LAFD Chief Kristen Crowley. Penny writes in and says, it's not the fire chief's fault when there was no water and not enough equipment and support.
No kidding. And it wasn't the fire chief's fault that the Department of Water and Power forgot to tell the fire department that there was no water in the reservoir.
Or refused to fix all those fire hydrants.
Coming up later on this evening after the news at 5, it's the News Blitz with Randy Wang. Randy, what's coming up on the big show today?
A video is going viral in Los Angeles of an innocent bystander yelling at a jackass in the middle of the day, stealing an entire block's worth of copper wiring.
Is that now suddenly like taking the soap from a hotel room where they just say, all right, use it in the room or take it with you, whatever the case may be, it's yours. We'll just restock it the next day.
It doesn't matter if it's Los Angeles or San Jose or Stockton or anywhere in the state. This problem is rampant and nobody seems to have any solutions for it.
Well, for once, if they steal the copper wire, we'll all be sitting in the dark, but it won't be Southern California Edison's fault.
And then you have people like, you remember when Kevin De Leon was running for re-election against Isabel? She was saying, well, you got to vote for me because we don't have any street lighting in our district. Yeah, you know why? Because it all got stolen.
You had it, but an important component to those street lights was stolen because you don't want to criminalize your communities.
And, of course, the last thing we ever want to do is go after the recycling facilities that are smelting down all of this metal and probably selling it back to the municipalities.
And that seems like the easy way to shut it down because all of those organizations require business licenses to operate.
Or at least you think they would.
All right, that's going to do it for us today, but we'll be back tomorrow at noon for another live and local edition of The John Phillips Show right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.